And welcome to Playbook Radio. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You may do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. All the links can be found in the description, as well as at gameplanplaybook.com. So today, I wanted to talk to you about how feeling is the signal. If you've ever studied Neville Goddard, you've heard the saying that feeling is the secret. He wrote a book about it, and it was one of his signature teachings. A lot of things that he taught about were anchored in that idea that feeling is the secret. And there's times when, we don't always feel like things are working in our favor. We don't always feel like things are successful or going to be successful. We don't always feel that the thing that we want is going to come to pass. And I know being in church, I would always hear the preacher say that faith and feelings are not always aligned. And I think to an extent that that's true, but the more you learn and the more that you study people like Neville Goddard, you start to realize that feelings are actually very powerful. We shouldn't be ruled by our feelings. In fact, I think that we should rule our feelings. And I'll explain why in a minute. The way you feel is a mirror of what's going on in the subconscious mind. You and I, we can't see what's going on in our subconscious mind at any given moment, but our feelings are a direct reflection of what's going on in our subconscious mind. And a lot of times when we're not feeling our best, when we're not feeling confident, when we're not feeling good about a situation, our feelings are telling on us, right? And even when, or even if you are doing affirmations and doing mental work, if those feelings are still persisting that are negative or not enthusiastic, then it's a signal that there's more work to be done. We can feel anything about anything. Like we can make ourselves feel something that isn't true. It's obviously a lot easier to feel when it's true, but part of creation is we have to give ourselves a new reality until that reality becomes our reality. Does that make sense? If your current reality is that you're financially limited, or perhaps you're not healthy, as far as, you have bad health, or if your current reality is that your relationship status it's not in a good place, or whatever the case may be, we have to give ourselves a new reality. As long as we continue to go over the old reality, then that old reality is going to anchor itself in our lives. And if it's not what you want, then you shouldn't think it, right? There was something that Wayne Dyer said many years ago. He would say, you have the ability to think things, to not think about things that you don't want. Right. So he said it's kind of like going into a store and buying a green lamp. If you don't want a green lamp, then don't go into the store to buy it. But by the same token, if you don't want a disastrous end, then don't think about it. Right. Now, for some people, that seems impossible, and it takes work because the average person is out of control when it comes to their thought life. They just let every single thing come into their mind. And what you think about over and over again eventually does get passed down to the subconscious mind. So a lot of these negative circumstances have at least an indirect link, if not a direct link, to the things that you've been thinking about constantly over and over and over again. We have to think something different if we want something different. But even though that's work, it's still a hopeful scenario, because what it means is that you're not a victim, right? You're not someone who has to endure something that you don't want. You don't have to stay in your current situation forever. You don't have to stay at your current income level forever. You don't have to stay at your current health level forever. Whatever it is that you want to change, it doesn't have to be that way forever, but we have to be proactive as far as changing what we think. And then ultimately that decides what we feel. So, let's say that have a presentation, or perhaps you are finishing a project at work and you don't feel great about it. You feel kind of nervous about it because of all the things that could possibly go wrong. And that's natural to think that way. But is that truly what you want? And so the feeling is the signal that in your subconscious mind, there is at least some sort of memory or belief that something bad is going to happen. Now, of course, it hasn't happened yet, right? It's not something that is real in that it's actually happened, but because that expectation is still alive and it's alive enough that it's causing this negative feeling, then it is a signal, and I would say a warning signal, to do something about it before the actual project is due. Because if you allow that feeling to persist, and feelings don't stay the same, they either get stronger or they get weaker. And they get stronger the more that you think about it. They get weaker the less you think about it, right? And what you want to do is you want to drown out whatever negative expectation with a positive expectation that this project finishes successfully. This presentation goes very well. I speak with clarity, conviction, and power. There's no mistakes. There's no errors. Everything is completed as expected. So what you do is that you go on offense and you just continue to talk about the outcome that you want. Excuse me. You talk about the outcome that you want. You stop talking, or you stop allowing the negative expectation to fester to the point that it takes over your mood. Once it takes over your mood, then that's a pretty strong expectation that has taken root in your subconscious mind. And you've got to take action to get rid of it. And the standard way that I reprogram my mind and teach other people how to do it is you remove the negative expectation, right? You just remove it. You renounce it. It's like that, this negative outcome is not going to happen, right? I remove it out of my mind. I remove it out of my subconscious mind, and you'll have to do it over and over and over again. And then you replace it with the positive expectation. The way you can tell it's working is pretty simple. If that negative feeling is still persisting, then, there's more work to do. But if it gets weaker, that means it's working, which means you have to do it even more. And then you do it essentially until you get to a place of neutral, right? I think some people might think, well, shouldn't you be 100% positive? And my answer to that is no, because if you're overly positive, then a lot of times we can get overconfident, and then we're not vigilant, right? We still need to be careful, right? We still need to be, maybe not careful is the right word, but maybe, I would say vigilant. We still need to be aware. We still need to be attentive to the things that we're working on, right? So you go through your paces, you go through your steps, you go through your preparation, you do all the things. It's just you're not doing it from a place of fear or a place of dread. You're doing it from a place of confidence that I know that if I do the things that I need to do, that everything is going to work in the way that I expect it to work. So you're not working from a place of, like I said, a place of fear, but you're working from a place of expectation and confidence. And those are two completely different feelings. Feeling Having anxiety doesn't help you, right? All these studies have told us that anxiety is a negative, has a negative effect on our body, on our health, on our mental health. So you don't need more anxiety. You don't need anxiety to scare you into doing that which you need to do. It's unnecessary. The better way to do it is, or the better way to approach it would be to see that anxiety as a signal that there's a negative expectation that has built up enough to override your daily mood. The moment that you catch it and address it, and then remove the negative expectation, like I said, it has to be done constantly, right? It's not something that you can do one time and you're good. Because again, because it's built up so much in your subconscious mind, it's overriding your mood. So you do the work to remove it until you get to the point of neutral. And then when you get to neutral, and by neutral, I mean there's no feeling either way. Like you're good either way. You're not anxious, but you're not overconfident and delusional into thinking that there's nothing else to do. You're in a place of complete control over your mind and over the situation. And that will produce the best result, whether it's at work, whether it's in your business, whether it's in like a sporting situation, a game, or, even in the home. When you reach a place of neutral, it doesn't mean that you don't care. It just means that you're in complete control of your emotions. You're in complete control of your mind. And that is when often the best results will happen. Use your feelings as a meter, right? Use it as a GPS. If I'm feeling down, if I'm feeling bad, then that is a signal that I've got to do something about my current mental programming. I have to do something about it. I got to turn this around, or the likelihood is that whatever it is that I'm preparing for is not going to turn out well, right? Because, your mood determines your fortunes. Winston Churchill said that, your fortunes don't determine your mood determines your fortunes, right? So feeling is a powerful signal. Pay attention to it, and then start to do the work to bring yourself, like I said, to neutral. Bring yourself up out of the dumps, bring yourself to neutral, and then you can do the things you need to do in order to move yourself forward in whatever arena you're playing in. So thank you so much for listening. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and I'll talk to you soon.